Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. We have a great show for you today. We have Maranda Williams, who's the Marketing and Communications Director for the American Heart Association. We talk about all things heart-related and a lot of interesting statistics, too. She said that only 40% of people who need CPR actually get it from bystanders. And then we talk about what you can do about that, ways that you can help out, and then some of the big events that we have in Columbia. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. For those of you who are listening and watching right now, if you haven't given us a follow or a review, if you're willing to do that, we would really appreciate that. We see it when you do that, and we love that. We have a great show for you today. We have Maranda Williams, who's the Marketing and Communication Director for the American Heart Association.
Yes.
Wow, that's a big title.
It is.
And you're all decked out in red today. You have red lipstick, red shirt. Red. What kind of nails? Yeah, you have little hearts on your nails. Yeah, and then your shoes. Yeah, maybe hold your shoes up a little bit so that they can see. I mean, those are just great.
These are like my favorite Heart Association shoes. Yeah.
And did I say my normal thing? I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom as always. I don't think I said that, but we're both here.
Mixes it up.
So welcome to the show. Thanks. So you said you've done a lot of radio and TV stuff before.
Yes.
And as a marketing and communication director, it seems like that's probably a lot of your job.
It is, yeah.
So tell us where you fall in the American Heart Association realm and how you got into that.
Sure. So that's an interesting story. So I'm actually, I've been with the American Heart Association not quite 2 years. I'm from Camden, South Carolina, but I moved to Columbia 25 years ago to go to college. So it sounds crazy for me to even admit that to you all, but yeah.
Horses. Isn't Camden all horses?
Oh yeah. So my grandfather used to work for the horse, like a family that had horses. Carolina Cup is huge.
Oh yeah.
Which actually is the same day of Heart Walk this year. I know, which is crazy. But Heart Walk will be early and you'll still have time to go and enjoy the race. But yes, I've been in Columbia for a long time. Went to the University of South Carolina here, so I'm a Gamecock by, association, but I love it. Enjoyed school and just kind of worked, different areas of marketing communications. Worked for the newspaper for a while, Kenneth Schuler Schools, which is a beauty school chain. I worked for the Dartmouth School of Business for a long time. Then worked for a state agency. While I was at that state agency, November of 2022, I had a cardiac event at the age of 40. It was 23 days before I turned 41. And so that was definitely just a game changer, life changer. I remember, so I'm also a makeup artist by trade. I've been doing makeup for a long time. So I remember having COVID that May of 2022. Went through COVID and my body took a while to really recover and feel like myself again. And so, I went to my doctor and just explained that I would get lightheaded, I would get dizzy, just different things that were not normal before I had COVID. And so we went through, several different realms of testing and just trying to figure out what was going on. I think some of the time I may not have been communicating my symptoms correctly either, because at some point I started having heart palpitations. And so at that point is when I remember I was up in my studio trying to hold myself up one day.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. And, at 40, I'm so at the time, my son was playing football. He was only 12 at the time, so he's in 6th grade. And so he was playing Pop Warner. And so I'd literally go to my studio, or I'd work all week, Monday through Friday, in the state agency job. So busy agency. Then we'd have practice in the afternoons. I'd take him in the old Saturday mornings. I'd go to my studio, work, take a break and go home, fix breakfast, get him up, ready for the field, take him to the field, go to the game, cheer at the game, because I'm like the crazy crazy football mom on the side. Take him home, go back to the studio. I'd be there, so my day would start at 6. Sometimes I wouldn't be home, resting until 5 or 6 in the afternoon. So very long days. But this particular day, again, I was holding myself up and I went to my doctor and at first, they ran just regular EKG and didn't see anything. And so another doctor came in and said to run it longer. And so they ran the test longer, and my heart went from normal to 220 beats a minute. And so I was sitting there, and he kept looking are you okay? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm just, I'm kind of having these feelings. I still was lightheaded, dizzy, but it would kind of come and go. And so I remember my doctor's office is not far from here, actually, Two Notch Road area, but My dad was at Royal Z Lanes, the bar at the bowling alley, and I said, well, because they wanted me to go to the emergency room like right then, and they were going to call an ambulance, and I was like, no, my dad is like right, I'm sure it was like I think it was a Tuesday, it was his bowling day. I was like, I can call my dad, he'll come get me. And they were like, no, is your dad like a paramedic, or is your dad a doctor? Like if not, you got to go in the ambulance. So if you pass out or you black out, like somebody can revive you. And so I was like, oh my God. So you go from like, healthy. I'm a single mom, so it's just me and my son, to like being told that you're going to have to be in an ambulance, like was the scariest thing ever. I had never been in an ambulance, like all my life, growing up on a farm, falling off bikes, all that stuff, like never had to have any like major health thing, even having a son, but anyway, had to go to in the ambulance to the emergency room. They admitted me, stayed for 3 nights. And after all kinds of tests, they had to run something up my arm to get to my heart. They realized that I have something called tachycardia. And so we don't know what caused it, or I think, I don't know. I've had family issues with heart problems, not myself and not my mom or my dad, but like other family members. My grandfather on my mom's side died from a heart attack when she was, I think, 15 or 16. But, I'd never met him. And of course, there just kind of wasn't, it seemed, close, but I guess I never really thought about it until then, that this is really serious. And so actually a couple months later, I was approached from the American Heart Association to be the survivor story for the Go Red for Women Luncheon.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
So I ended up doing that, and so met with the executive director and the team, and found out that the person that had gotten me to tell my story was leaving to take another job, and so this job was open. And so we kind of just talked about it, and a couple months later, I was here. So, I think everything happens for a reason. I never would have thought that, years ago, I never would have thought I would have worked for the American Heart Association or even nonprofit, just because, I just never knew. But I guess things happen and they lead to other things. And so I think that is definitely a blessing that it led me to the association, because it's been an amazing, amazing experience so far. Because it is personal to me, and I think that does make it a little bit different. And I work with an amazing group of people, and seeing the passion that other people have also supporting the mission really, really makes a big difference to me.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm able to be in this position and help impact others and tell other stories, because mine was something that I never thought I would be telling. But I think it's helped, certain people.
So how does the Heart Association find these stories? How did they know about you to come to the luncheon?
Sure.
Or is that like a thing
So in this situation, one of my really great friends from college, actually, we were roommates my sophomore year. Her name is Carlin Gill. She works for MUSC. She actually had seen, or I don't even know if I kind of maybe vaguely mentioned it on social media. So she had heard about it, and I think at the time they were looking for a specific female story, and Carlin told Catherine Kaufer, who was in this position at the time, about me, and
she
out.
put you on blast,
So
just putting your health information out
there. She did, and it really took me some time to think about it, because and I never haven't had a reason to think about telling your story health-wise, but it brings up so much emotion sometimes. So I'll tell y'all this little story. Last week, this was last Tuesday, I think, whatever day it was, like crazy rain. I had booked to talk to this group with the Council on Aging. And so I there's a video that tells my story, and my son is in it. Like, he's 14 now and like 6'2". But in the video, he's like 12. He still had the baby, his baby voice. And so he's in the video inside. And I usually show a video before I start talking, but usually it's not me. It's usually like a CPR video or, something. But something told me to tell or to show my video first because it was all women in the room. So I felt like, these are moms, these are women that probably go, I'm perimenopausal, so I'm sure, some of that conversation came up. But I showed my video before. And oh my God, boo-hoo, cried. Like I was so embarrassed. Like I shouldn't have been. And they were like, oh my God, baby, it's okay. Like, everybody was really, you're watching it and you're seeing what happened. You're seeing my son. And I think so telling my story a lot brings up so many different emotions each time. You're kind of reliving it a little bit. So I'm glad I didn't cry today. But, you just never know how much, again, it will impact some people because that day I had somebody that came up afterwards just saying, thank you so much for being here, for telling your story. I'm going to talk to my doctor because I've had some similar feelings. Yeah. I remember this one time I was at the Miss South Carolina, they do the workshop weekend. And so this was last year. So I told my story there. And I had a young girl, 17 years old, that came up to me at the end, and she had on the same heart monitor that I had to wear.
Wow.
And she was like, thank you so much for telling your story. I was on the brink of not even competing, and just hearing you and just knowing that, other people need to know what I've had to go through. And I was just like, oh my gosh, to have that kind of ability to not even make an impact, but just to get people to think and, make some lifestyle choices or, not be afraid to continue to go forth with something they want to do. Because you have a diagnosis, that's really, it kind of impacted me also, of course.
Well, and so what happened then? So you went to the hospital.
Oh, sorry.
You spent 3 days there.
3 days. They found out what my diagnosis was. And so I'm on a, heart healthy diet. I'm on 2 different medications that I take every day. I lost 52 pounds. That was another thing they wanted.
52 pounds?
52 pounds. I have to show you before and after. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, 52 pounds.
So it kind of scared you into making lifestyle changes.
It did, because I really started thinking at the time I was only 40. I'm 43 now. But, I want to be here for my son is hopefully one day going to get married and have children and have a great career and do something. I want to be here for all of that. He told me the other day, Mom, you got to live at least to 200. I'm like, boo, I don't know that anybody has really lived to 200, but I'm going to hang in here as long as I can with you. So yeah, it scared me into making really good choices. So I, working out and exercising was something that, I would do it, but I was inconsistent. I was very inconsistent. I would do it for a month and then I'd be like, oh, I'll go. And then I'd miss 6 months, but I'm still paying membership and all that since he was probably 8 months. So it's just crazy to pay that. But anyway, so I started working out a lot more consistently. I do Pilates at least once a week. I changed my diet completely.
What were the things that you found you had to eliminate or add that helped a lot? Because I think a lot of people know what they should do, but they don't do it. Mm-hmm. And there are some people who just don't know what they should do. Most people who they're driving through the McDonald's line know this isn't great. Or they're drinking a soda, they know bad idea.
Yeah. So I've never been a soda person, which was great. So I didn't have to worry about that. But I did have to think about not drinking. Drinking was, and I'm not saying for every minute it's a bad thing for you in general. But, moderation, and I've not.
So it was like wine or alcohol was a big thing, which
big.
my mother says that all the
Alcohol
time.
was
My
big.
mom says I love wine, but it makes me gain weight, and she just can't.
What's the
she
sugar?
said she can't.
So sugar is bad for me.
Sugar,
probably.
yeah.
So I have a big sweet tooth. So making different choices. So instead of me getting a pie or a cake, I may get some of the little angel food and put some little light Cool Whip and some strawberries and blueberries in it. So that's my dessert. My son, because he's an athlete, we are very focused on nutrition with him anyway, but I do eat the same thing he eats. So I do my protein shakes. I do a little bit different though with my smoothies. So I would do a lot more kale and spinach, because I would do apples and bananas and pineapples, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But I needed some green in there. So I definitely added a lot more vegetables. And I grew up on a farm, so I'm used to eating vegetables, but I think doing it enough. So having vegetables with every single meal, even when I first started and was super, super strict, I would even have spinach or broccoli with breakfast, which was not something I was used to doing. But, so with my eggs, I may do, again, I'll do a serving of fruit, a serving of vegetables, or maybe 2 servings of fruits and 2 servings of vegetables and just an egg or something like that. So definitely looked at portions. That was another thing. One of the things I remember somebody told me was taste everything, eat nothing. So like, okay, my son loves macaroni and cheese. I can't eat like a whole serving of macaroni and cheese, but I can taste it on a little spoon and then the rest of my plate. Yeah. So that's another thing that I learned. And then activity was huge for me. So definitely a lot of cardio. Weights was good for me. I noticed that one thing when I started like adding, we're not saying I had to be like a, bodybuilder, like 50 pounds here and there, but just adding some weights definitely helped me a lot to just, I think, speed up. And then when you start seeing results, then that is going to fuel you a little bit too. So when I started seeing like the first dress size, I was like, okay, you getting cute.
This is working.
We can do this again. Yeah.
So have you heard the whole thing about how fat was blamed for heart disease for a long time from the lobbyists? And it turns out that it was because the sugar companies were paying to convince people that fat was the culprit and not sugar. And now it's all coming full circle and they're realizing sugar, basically the same thing that you just said right there. Like you weren't eating a ton of like quote unquote fat. It was tons of sugar or alcohol that turns into sugar or bread that turns into sugar or macaroni and cheese that turns into sugar. And it makes you gain weight, but it has inflammation and it affects your heart big time too.
And it's so addictive, I feel like. So when you 100%. Start drinking a lot of sugary drinks, that's what you're going to continue to want. So I drink a lot more water. Like I said, I was never a soda person. And if I do juice, I do it how I used to do it with my son when he was little. Like I put water in it.
Dilute it.
I dilute it a little bit. But I mean, I love water. I probably drink almost a gallon of water a day.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, everyone should be doing that.
Everybody, you're right, should be doing that. But
was it so when you say you leave the hospital? Was it immediate where you made the change? Like, was that the cold turkey, scared enough started, or was there still some time where you're like, I got the diagnosis, I'm under control?
I think a little bit. I was in denial in the beginning. Yeah. And now it did. Now my mom was home with my son. So when I got home, she's like, you're not eating this. Like, I'm gonna take all this stuff out. Like, we got it. And I'm like, well, Ma, yeah, but let me just, I'm gonna order this tropical, but I'm gonna order this something. And so it was, and I think one of the things that we don't talk about a lot, especially with any heart disease or any other kind of diagnosis, is just the mental, the mental unrest, right? Like, because I was so afraid. I think afraid more of just having a heart attack, dying, having a stroke. I mean, I was super scared of anything, right? So I think in the beginning, like, I also wasn't, like, I didn't want to eat anything. I didn't want to, I didn't want to go to work. Like, I didn't want to do anything. And I think so eventually I got to a point where I was like, okay, I just got to figure out how this is going to work. And so, I did work with my doctor on, giving me, because they gave you, when you leave the hospital, they give you like this big packet of stuff, right? Yeah. And you're like, oh God, I got to read all this stuff. So I ended up going to my like primary care and telling her, okay, like I need to know like what I need to do, what I need to eat. So she kind of helped me sift through some of that, which was very helpful. Just because some of the stuff in the packet, I mean, will really scare you to think you don't need to eat anything. Right. But like, broccoli.
They take everything away.
They take everything away. So that was but it's been a journey. I think that the other thing is you can expect to, like, I didn't expect to leave the hospital and tomorrow, like, have a whole different life. But it kind of does scare you into it a little bit. But it took time. It took me probably about a year to get to, the first like 40 pounds. And then, I've kind of been just trying to maintain, and I lost another couple. I've got another 10, 15 that I would like to lose, but but it's been a journey.
I would love to see the American Heart Association focusing on nutrition big time.
I think that's great. So there are some new things.
Okay. Well, I think there's public pressure from that because for a long time it felt like it was going toward heart research and pharmaceuticals. And then I think there was a big push to say, like, yes, we do need research on it, but we also need people to just quit eating and drinking mounds and mounds of sugar. And smoking. All these different lifestyle factors that are maybe harder to convince people to do. Like, it's easier to say, it's not your fault, we'll go find a cure. Yeah. It's harder to say, hey, you need to change how you're eating and how you're living, and you need to go work out, and you need to quit smoking.
Yeah. Well, the cure, the cure is, there's medicines and there's, a lot of things. But for me, there's not, anything that's going to, like, completely fix my problem other than, like, a procedure that has a certain percentage of, being
Risk.
effective. Right. So there's not, so really the lifestyle change. And then of course there's genetics, which we can never, fight somebody's genetics.
Right.
But there are things like the Whole Food is Medicine initiative, which is huge, is something that's newer.
Yep.
So, I think but we also need the research. The research is important because the research also has, helped find ways to, help. Like we had a child, CHD survivor that even my executive director, her surgery that she had at 4 years old is a totally different surgery now. That's, not as invasive. So,
Yes.
the research definitely helps also.
And it's the
But you're
same
right.
same with the spine too. Like when I look at
Sure.
the surgeries they were doing 15 years ago compared to now, night and day difference.
Right.
So anybody who changed their lifestyle, or that we even had people come in who are getting adjusted, getting chiropractic care, and we knew it was they're probably going to have to get surgery, but it was going to prolong it, however many years. Those people ended up getting a completely different surgery than they would have got if they didn't. And even the days where you get a full rod all the way through your spine almost automatically for scoliosis, which is what they used to do. Now I'm seeing they're barely doing that anymore.
Really?
Or they're targeting specific discs or specific joints instead of just the entire spine every time. So I think there is a lot to be said about advances in technology and procedures and things like that too.
Yeah, especially with the babies with heart defect, like
Oh my gosh, yeah.
just being born right out of the gates. Some of the stuff that they're doing is pretty incredible. So I guess for those listeners, like, 'cause you were 40 years old, did you have the mindset of most of us where it's like, oh, it's not going to be me, or I'm young? Does AHA have like a, when should people start getting checkups? Like what age? Because 40 is young.
40 years young.
And that's what I tend to think is like most people are just like, I'll worry about that when I'm 60. And they don't think about when does that process start? Do they talk about or have any sort of guidelines on get these checkups at certain times in life? Because I know with cancer, like they started adding in these, certain ages that they look at things a little bit more closely. But I'm thinking about this. Most people are asymptomatic.
Oh, absolutely.
And or ignore stuff and like
Ignore
chalk
stuff.
it up to like, oh, it's just anxiety. I was stressed.
Well, and so that's interesting because I was actually, as I was going through my, trying to figure out what was going on with me, I had probably gone to my doctor maybe 2 or 3 times, and I was misdiagnosed a couple times. And
Right.
we thought it was anxiety. We thought it was something that happened as a result of long COVID that created like crystals between your ears that could have caused my, my balance to be off. So there were a couple things. And of course, I think just trying to figure out again, me explaining the symptoms, figuring out how to, articulate that, I think sometimes was a challenge, like I mentioned earlier. But so I don't think there's necessarily a specific age that the AHA is requiring or,
Recommending or anything, yeah.
Other than one of the big things that I think that we talk about a lot is knowing your family history, right? Because that was something for me even, like I said, I knew that it was in my family, but in my family, like now, there were things that I'm learning now in my 40s that probably I would have been able to check heart disease on the list of things that the doctor is asking me much earlier, but we didn't. Even like with cancers, like my grandfather had prostate cancer, and I didn't find out until literally I was in the hospital and the nurse came in and said, oh my God, the cancer's getting bad. And I was like, well, I was 27 years old.
Right.
I had no idea he had cancer, at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that we need to do, and we talk about that often with some of the different, like there's a condition now called, well, it's been out for a while, but it's called HCM. So it's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And it's an initiative that we've kind of, worked on because of the athletes and how much it affects athletes. And so one of the things that they recommend is not necessarily an age, but it's knowing if somebody has had a sudden cardiac arrest, death, because it's, it's hereditary. And so if you know that as you're a child and you're playing sports, that's something you have to tell the doctor so that they can do more testing to make sure that you don't have that. So there's not necessarily a specific age. And I will also say I'm not a medical professional. But I think the biggest thing is knowing your risk and knowing, what is in your history, because if you are able to tell your doctor that, then there are certain things they can do to help make sure that you're making lifestyle choices or that you're having tests that you need to have to see if you have specific other genetic issues.
Yeah. I love I mean, because the statistics is 1 in 2, right? 1 in 2 people die of heart disease. Is that like it's a coin flip?
So I know in women, it's like 1 in 3 women will have heart disease. I would have to check the 1 in 2 to be honest with you. Yeah.
Because it's so high that my thought is like, if there's a way to scare kids early or use something where it's like you have to start now, even though there isn't any say test or sign or anything, and maybe utilizing family history of like, if you don't make these nutritional changes, movement changes, the things that they can control. Right. I think that would be maybe a nice technique when we're young and impressionable about like, if I don't do this,
right, then this will happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I just think we miss that. And we do, when you hear some of the stats, that's like just sounds wild that like flipping a coin or in this room, there's 4 of us and 2 of us are going to have an issue. It's pretty wild.
It is,
and that's just heart, not to mention like you throw cancer in the mix and now it's like everybody. Yeah.
I like the lifestyle side of it too, where you maybe approach it like sooner or earlier. I really like that idea too, because I think there is this reactive idea that you're fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're not. Whereas if there was more proactive ways to approach it, especially lifestyle-wise, I feel like people would be open to it. They just don't know.
Well, I think that is absolutely true. One thing that I learned about after being with the AHA, of course, is, we have the Kids Heart Challenge that runs in schools. And so that does help to, educate the kids on, activity. And because I know, like for my son, right, we're in the gym every day, but most kids don't have that much access to, exercise or a trainer and that sort of thing. So for him, like he'll often tell me, Mom, like, no, I need to go get this because I need to, make sure I have this. But that's because that's what we've been doing since he was, little.
That's his normal.
That's his normal. But I realized that a lot of kids, like I said, don't have that even, in different areas. So like in Columbia, I forget the exact, but I think there are like 60,000 families in the Midlands. We just did something with the food pantry that are food insecure. 60,000 families just in our little area, right? And so they may have some type of food, but with food insecurity, it's finding like the right healthy foods, having access to that within a couple of miles. And there's 60,000 families that don't have that here in Columbia. So imagine like how much that is across the world for people not to have, or just across the United States for people not to have access to healthy foods, vegetables, like that's huge.
And the stuff that gets donated too is often
it's like
non-perishables, and they're
canned goods.
they're kind of full of chemicals,
sugar,
preservatives. I think that would be a nice area for people to be able to use. And I always hear the argument too about the I forget what it was called. What's the thing called? We used to call it food stamps back in the day.
It's like
EBT, EBT something.
Yeah.
But they were saying how much of that is used to purchase soda, and it was some massive percentage of it. And I think lots of times it's just you don't know.
You just don't know
what it's doing to you. It tastes good and it's there and it's covered, and you just don't know. It's inexpensive.
That's another thing.
It's cheaper than water sometimes.
Right.
Buying bottled water, which is insane.
Yeah, because like my son, he likes those little, Capri Suns and all that. And I mean, I buy him every now and again, but you're right. I mean, for him to drink water, for me to get like the water that we really like,
the Fiji, the bougie water.
Yes, that's Fiji. How did you know?
I had a feeling.
I love that. Yeah, the Fiji is my favorite. So sorry, my headphones came off.
It's good.
Yeah.
So talk more about what AHA offers as far as like challenges. You mentioned the Kids Heart Challenge. We have the Heart Walk. Kind of speak to some of that so the listeners can get involved in some of the like exercise or movement stuff.
Sure. So Heart Walk is a lot of fun. It's probably one of my favorite events. And the Heart Walk here in Columbia is coming up March the 29th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be at Segra Park. But Heart Walk is just a fun way to remind people to get out, exercise. It's a way for us to, or have an opportunity to, celebrate our survivors, to tell stories of those that have overcome, certain challenges with heart disease, and then sometimes to remember like people that have not, made made it to this point, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
we have a lot of that too. But Heart Walk is just a lot of fun. We have all types of vendors there that are out spreading information. We have a little dog section. So if you've got a pet, you can bring your pet. There's a little dog section that, you know, they have like water and stuff. The dogs are so cute though. Yeah. There's kids corners. There was last year we had somebody that was doing some meditation and stretch yoga. That was also really good, just to kind of see some different things you can do on your own. But it's just a great way. I think there's a survivor mile, so you don't have to go the full like 2-point-something miles. But there's a survivor mile, and then there's a longer walk. But it's a lot of fun. It's a Saturday morning. It's free to attend. But you can sign up to register to like host a team. On the website, and it's just a really fun environment. We have churches that came out last year. Our heart hero, her name was Karis, and I think she just turned 4, but her uncle is the pastor of the Brook, and so the Brook, and they're actually my church too, but the Brook had a huge team of people. So like your churches can come out, your classrooms, and it's just a good way for us to celebrate community and remind people to, you know, some healthy lifestyle changes, but also reminding people that it's important to get out and walk. So that's always something that's going on. We do those all across the state though, so that's just our Columbia event. And then of course like Heart Ball is March 14th, and then the Go Red for Women luncheon will be later on in April. I think it's April the 24th, but those dates are all on the website. And then we do a lot of other like local initiatives. Like last Friday, we were at the Vet Center at Dorn VA Hospital, and we had, I think, 40 blood pressure cuffs that were given away. It was something we did with support from Boyer Construction, and so that was one thing that we did recently. A couple months ago, the event I was telling you about with the food pantry, it's a Wiley Kennedy Center. It's a family life center that's attached to Bethlehem Baptist Church off North Main, but Southeastern Freight Lines was really cool. They actually provided these bags, because one of the challenges that a lot of the people that were patrons of the food pantry were having if they were walking home, it was during the summertime. So if they were walking home and, you know, we wanted to try to get some fresh vegetables and meat and that sort of thing, some of the items were thawing out, or, you know, they were worrying about it being cold. And so Southeastern donated these refrigerator or like insulated bags, so they were able to get the food home safer. So I was super excited about that. And it kind of helped to address some of the food insecurity issues, especially in that North Columbia area, because the church is off North Main. So, yep. So that, and we do a lot of like, matter of fact, this summer, I forgot about this. It was super cute. We went to Girl Scouts and did hands-only CPR training. That's another thing. CPR
love that.
Is such a big thing that we want at least one person at every household to learn, because there are, I think, 350,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests that happen each year, and 90% of those result in death, and which is like a super scary number.
Wow.
And so with CPR, we just want people to learn hands-only CPR, make sure you know what to do in the case of a cardiac emergency. And so we've done schools all across the city, churches, we go everywhere to kind of do the CPR training, but that's another thing that we have. It's pretty big right now with our Nation of Lifesavers campaign.
And you no longer do mouth to mouth.
So
you're calling it hands-only CPR.
When we do demonstrations, we do the hands-only CPR. That kind of came around from my knowledge, like a COVID time. So people were afraid, you know, to always go for the breaths. They still teach the breaths when you go get your official certification, but for our purposes, we teach hands-only. It's two steps. Number one, make sure check, see if they're breathing, but call 911 and then push hard and fast in the center of the chest. Yep. And so that way you're still able to, you know, help.
To the beat of
so
Staying Alive.
Can do Staying
right?
Alive.
Is that still the song? I don't know if people know it anymore.
So
They're
listen,
too young for
there's
it.
so many songs there's actually a playlist that you can look up. There's AJ playlist.
Hang on, let me grab my Spotify playlist.
Listen, and there was so recently with the Super Bowl, Kendrick Lamar's song, they had a couple that were like the same. So it's like 110, 120 beats a minute is what you want to stay at. So like a couple of his songs, a couple of Beyonce, Taylor Swift. There are a lot of songs out now.
Really?
That are the beat. Yeah. So that's really
cool.
Funny. Yeah.
And what about the walk? Because we're doing the walk.
Oh, you're doing the walk. Great.
Yeah. But I was curious who the winner is usually.
Okay, so there's not like a first place. It's not like
somebody has to power walk a little bit and get up there.
Anybody jogging?
Absolutely, you do have some people jogging. You have actually a good number of people jogging. Like you can tell them though, they come in there like clothes. You can tell that they are like professional. Yeah,
they print off their own number so that everybody can see.
Absolutely. And then so the other thing that's fun about Heart Walk is people have like teams. Like your teams may have like a specific name. I'm sorry, I keep losing my headphones. But they may have like their team name on the shirt. They may be walking in memory of someone or in honor of someone. So you will definitely see some shirts. We do a t-shirt contest. So we do have a t-shirt contest.
Like a wet t-shirt contest?
Yeah, what kind?
No, like just for whoever designed the best t-shirt.
Toss that around as an idea, maybe throw in the wet t-shirt.
I don't know about that. We're not going to get into that.
So, and with the hands-only CPR, I thought I read something about more women die of heart attacks or heart-related issues because people
They're
won't
afraid. Yeah.
touch the breast area? Or?
So there are a couple of things I think and so actually I think it's 40% of people that need bystander CPR will receive it, right? But then that number decreases if you are a woman, if you're African American, or if you're Hispanic. So I probably would be just SOL somebody.
So only 40%
40% is usually that was the number before who needed it. Like if somebody passed out in a store or a mall or something like that. That was the statistic.
And there was a person there, like just watching or like saying like, I don't want to.
Or and some people. So the other thing is they don't know it. So or if you only if it was COVID and somebody you don't want to put mouth to mouth. And so that's why we really try to work on like the hands only, and it's really built to empower people to do something, right? We don't want people just standing around recording or doing it. We want people to actually go into action. And the stories that we've heard of people, bringing people back. Like there's a story right now. So another thing we're working on at the state house level, which is really cool that we have a chance to really impact legislation, but we're working on the Smart Heart Act. And so the Smart Heart Act would make sure that there are cardiac emergency response plans in every school across the state. So a lot of schools have some form of plan, but it's not like a legislation that says we need to have that, right? So that's one thing we're working on now. But we had a family. His name is Luke Barrett, and his mom, Misty Barrett. We were able to work with her. I have to send you that video, too, because it's like, oh, my God, I cry every time I watch it. But he was at school. He had gone out to recess. He came back inside from recess, and he passed out. He was, I think, 11 at the time. And he was just sitting in class, passed out. And so the teacher realized that he wasn't breathing. They got the school nurse. The school nurse came and did CPR. They got him to the hospital. It was a miraculous story, right? So I think he had to get a defibrillator when they realized he had HCM that I was talking about earlier, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. A couple months later, him and his mom are out on the golf cart. The golf cart breaks down. They had to walk home about a little over a mile. And so they got home, and he told her, Mom, I think it's about to happen again. And he passed out. And she had to revive. She's a nurse. So she had to perform CPR to get him back. And, if she wasn't there or if that school didn't have a plan, like, we don't know. I mean, she even says in the video she didn't know if her son would be alive. And so that's, the CPR pieces. If you know it, it's the chances of you saving some. Hopefully you never have to use it, right? But the chances that you save somebody will probably be somebody that you love, somebody that you know. Because most, I think cardiac arrests happen like at home. It's one of the statistics. Right. Yeah.
I just can't believe that only 40%.
Well, that's
of that. Like I can't believe that 60% of the time everybody just stands around and does nothing,
or they don't know how to do it,
or or they don't. But I think there is a fear of probably lawsuits. Do you think that's a fear for some people?
So the fear is that for people doing it on women is that they are going to hurt them or break a rib or something like that. So now there is, the Good Samaritan law that's out. So basically, if you're saving that person's life, you won't get in trouble.
Okay, that's good. I don't know if a lot of people know about that.
A lot
but
of
that's
people
good
probably
to
don't know that. So another thing too, yes, when you're doing CPR, they're technically supposed to remove everything so that you can get to the center of the chest effectively. So a lot of people probably don't know that and don't, wouldn't want to do that, thinking that the woman. But for me, save my life. I don't care about.
You're not shy about that if your life is getting saved.
Get the shirt off.
Right. Seriously.
Yeah. No.
Have you ever seen the show, The Sandlot?
No.
Oh, it's one of my favorite shows ever from back in
the
day.
day.
It's a movie.
Okay, I remember.
It's kind of like a baseball movie.
Okay.
But there's a lifeguard, Wendy Peppercorn, who they all have a big crush on, and they're all 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
And the one guy dives in. He's drowning. She has to dive in, and then she starts doing like CPR and mouth to mouth, and he like looks over and winks at all his friends, and then he pretends like he's back, and then when she's giving him mouth to mouth, he grabs her and starts kissing her, and they all get banned from the pool for like the whole summer.
That is hilarious. I remember. I don't think I've ever watched the full thing, but I do remember the
it was so funny.
That is hilarious.
Classic.
But it's like a play. It's a funny play on it, but it's mind blowing to me that there's 60% of the time that people are watching that happen and not doing anything.
Well, and then even
they don't know.
African American women
less.
Which that's crazy
women
too.
In
That's
general,
insane.
less.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nuts. So
Yeah.
and then I guess what's the best way for people to get information right away? Should they have the app on the phone? Like where should people kind of get their knowledge?
Sure, there's so much information. If you go to heart.org, there's a way you can go to South Carolina and find like local things. But I mean, there's videos on there with hands-on CPR demonstrations. There's recipes, cooking, lifestyle stuff. There's a mindful meditation segment. So there's so much information there that can just help you to figure out what to do.
With the hands-only CPR training stuff, is that something a business could request and have you guys come out and teach? Is it free? Is there a cost to it? What's that look like?
Sure. So we have several businesses that have already reached out to us to come out. So we do go to businesses all the time, and businesses, schools, as long as we have the availability and the bandwidth. We have our small team here in South Carolina and Columbia. But if we, have the resources, we definitely can do that. We have a lot of organizations though that will also have a certified trainer. So if you go to heart.org, there's another way that you can go to, if you want to get your staff certified, there's a way you can get your staff certified as well.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. So, and what does that look like then for a certification? They would call, and then it's a 1 day or it's a half day course, right? Or a couple hours?
I think I forget how many hours it is, but I don't know. I think you can do it in a day, but I think there could probably be a couple different options there. And then once you go through the course, then you get a card that says that you're certified, and that lasts for a certain amount of time.
That's good.
Yep.
Do you know if mouth to mouth is better than hands only?
So I think, if you learn the full, that's probably always
That's
gonna
ideal.
be the ideal. Yeah, if somebody can know that. But I think the other thing with knowing hands only is that you can do something until 911 gets there.
Right. Even if you don't want to do the whole thing, you
Right,
can do
right.
something until they get there.
Yeah.
Is there any affiliation with the Red Cross? Do you guys do blood drives, or is that kind of just completely separate?
So they're completely separate, but a lot of the research, of course, for CPR training has come from the American Heart Association.
Gotcha.
That they use, yeah.
Nice. And then blood pressure cuffs, now that they're more accessible, is that something that I guess the Heart Association recommends everybody have? And how expensive or inexpensive are they these days, where I feel like you should have them at home?
So I would have to check to see if I don't know that that's recommended. We want everybody to have one at their house.
Gotcha.
I can't say yes or no to that, but I do personally have one.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some that are not necessarily, affiliated with the American Heart Association, but I believe there's something on the box that will say, if it's been approved, by the American Heart Association.
That's what I was wondering if they have a store where you could purchase maybe some stuff to have a kit
There's
almost.
some things online on the heart.org website. There's CPR kits that you can purchase. I feel like there's blood pressure cuffs there as well.
That'd be cool.
But like I said, I have one that I think I may have paid $20 for, so it's definitely worthwhile. My parents have one at home, so we do, and I use it to check it.
It seems like I agree. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But the way that they do it seems antiquated to me. I need to ask a cardiologist about this.
Yeah.
You have to put a cuff around your arm and then put a stethoscope underneath it and then have a stopwatch and count it.
Oh, when you go to the doctor.
Yeah. Just in general. Now they have the ones you can put on your wrist or you can put on your arm and just press the button and it does it automatically. That seems...
do you know if AHA is involved with the watches and all the things that are tracked? Because I've seen Apple has stuff where you can run a quick, I think it was EKG or something.
I've seen
I saw
there's even
that
an
too.
app that you can do it now.
Yeah.
But I don't have any information on
Don't know
that, to
about
be
that.
honest with you. Yes, I wouldn't want to.
Okay.
Would not want to miss.
That would be an interesting
That
thing
would be. I have to look that up, honestly.
as it gets
Yeah.
more. Has there been any talk about having a building with screening tools where people can just show
Pop
up
in.
and be there?
So there are a couple, and I'm trying to remember. I feel like there's an airport that has an AHA, I want to say it's in Georgia, that's got like a CPR kiosk. So there are a couple that are kind of, CPR, blood pressure related, but I don't know that we have any here in South Carolina.
Yeah, that would be. I've never thought about that before, but it would be interesting because if there's that many people who are food insecure, they're probably not going to get regular physicals, or if there's a copay or whatever, they may not be pushing for it. But if there's a place where you can just go and get your blood pressure done, like I know Publix, you can go in there and push the button and get your blood pressure done.
And we do have some places. So like in like the PD area is another area that we work in. And there is, I think they have the YMCA and then some libraries that have blood pressure cuffs where you can go and take your blood pressure there. And then if you don't have a doctor, then it's called the screen referral program that our community impact director has set up. So basically, say somebody needs, is feeling, faint or something like that, they can go to the library, check their blood pressure. If they have a doctor, call the doctor. But if not, they have a referral program where you can get a card of a doctor that's in the area that you can see.
That's nice.
Yeah, so we do have those across the state.
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
great.
You'll see them more in your rural areas than you will here, because in Columbia we've got some options, but a lot of the rural areas don't.
So we have a lot of business owners that listen to the show. What if they want to get involved, and that it's as large as like big business, and then there's small businesses. I remember hearing about field days for maybe like large corporations.
Yeah.
Can you speak to like just how businesses could get involved on a big level, big ones and small ones?
So field day is basically like a day where we come out and it's literally like elementary school field day. Like we have, the 3-legged race. They do the, I can't even think of all the
high jump.
Games. We do not do a high jump.
No high jump.
Tug of war.
Tug of war.
Yep.
Well, that we did. I don't think we did tug of war the last one, but like
Shot
the egg
put,
toss,
hammer throw,
Egg toss.
egg toss.
I think elementary.
Oh, I didn't
school.
know egg toss.
A pole vault.
Yeah, like the
No.
oh god, the water balloon toss. Now the water balloon toss is I
that'd
got
be
some
fun.
video that's really cute. But it's like we come out and we do all these fun events. They do some fundraising, so there's a fundraising component available with that as well, where teams get super competitive to see who can win the most. But field day is just a fun day where people can take a break from like the normal office structure or whatever their business is. We come in and do like a fun day with them. So it does also remind you to have some fun, to go outside, enjoy nature, do some activities, walk, run, whatever kind of physical activity you can do. Also, it does definitely build some team spirit. So that's one of the most fun things that people get from that day is also learning their teammates and kind of just get more close to them. So
How
field
big
days are
would a
fun.
company need to be to partake in that?
There's not a specific number. We've done them in Sumter. We had like the Sumter School District did one, so it's a little bit smaller than like the big company Right Dose that we work with here in Columbia.
Yeah.
So it just really kind of depends.
Nice.
There's also one that we did with like the construction teams this year. So instead of like it's our field day, but it's for construction companies. So I think there were like maybe 13 teams,
Yeah.
and they had teams of like between 5 and 7 compete, and so then they're competing against other like construction companies.
That'd be
so that
sweet.
was cool too.
Yeah.
Like, what if Columbia Family Chiropractic wanted to take on urgent care over here, and then maybe like the crew at McDonald's, or like, is that something
Like a
we
little
could?
Northeast
Oh
business.
yeah,
I
like we
think
just
could totally
dominate
do
up
that.
here.
Absolutely, that would be fun.
See, that'd be
Yeah.
sweet.
We just need a little field. We actually, the one we did in Sumter, I think we did that one inside in like a arena. But if we can find like someplace outside.
Yeah.
We've done them at Spring Valley before,
Nice.
at their football field.
That'd be cool.
It's a lot of fun.
And so I'm kind of changing gears here,
No,
but
no.
I'm curious about the business side of the nonprofit too, because I know that, or when I was looking it up, it sounds like American Heart Association is one of the top ones about giving the amount of money that they raise actually a big percentage of it actually goes towards the cause. Whereas I think it was only, and you might know this better, it was only like 2% of what you raise has to go toward the cause for it to be a nonprofit.
Yeah, it's small.
Oh, wow.
But I
So-
think AHA is like 76%.
That,
or
yeah,
something.
that's so they're they're a really good one, because I've always been a little bit cynical. Well, not always. Ever since the UNICEF thing came out, where it was like nothing was going toward the
Right,
cause, and people were just pocketing all the money. And then I'll hear about like politicians who have a nonprofit, but they just funnel all the money through there, and then there's business plays behind it. But it sounds like there's a pretty big push to make sure that the money being raised and coming in actually goes or a big percentage of it actually goes toward them.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say one of the questions we get a lot, especially here in South Carolina, is like they want to know locally where it's
Does
going.
it stay here?
Because that's also very important to a lot of our supporters. And so when we do those events like the food pantry, or like a couple months ago, we did a big push with the HCM, with the HBCUs, because HCM, again, is something that affects our black male athletes at higher percentages. So we did some refrigeration. We did some testing where we actually tested to see if they had the genetic trait that would cause
Oh,
HCM.
that's cool.
Right. So we do a lot of that too, especially here in South Carolina.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if people want to see where their donations are going, is that on a website, or
You can
they
check the
find it?
website. You can also, like our social media, we post a lot of our local events and local initiatives there as well. And so we're at American Heart SC, but definitely on the website we post a lot. And there's actually the vet giveaway is going up today on our news release on section.
Oh,
there
what's
too.
a vet? What's a vet giveaway?
So that we did the blood pressure cuffs.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Veterans
Yeah.
Association.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Yep.
Not veterinarian.
I thought you meant veterinarian.
Oh,
I thought you
no,
meant
I'm sorry.
veterinarian for some reason.
Veterans, I'm sorry.
So I guess tell us about, what does a day in the life look like for you from like marketing this? Are you a lot of boots on the ground meeting with people, or is there a lot of digital stuff? Like what?
So it's kind of both, right? So like today we have an event this weekend. We have the PD Heart Ball in Florence, and so this morning we did our team meeting, and then we met with our auctioneer because the Heart Ball is like a formal gala, and then we have like a live auction in the middle of that event while we're also telling open your heart moments, or it's a survivor story. So Luke Barrett, who was the child in Florence, that will be his video.
Wow.
That will be shown at that event. And so we are, kind of in the thick of things with getting that event squared away and making sure that everything is prepared for Saturday. So I've worked on, scheduling my social media that'll go out this week. Talking to the family a little bit. We are working on finding some of Luke's favorite things to, kind of be able to shower him a little bit at the event. So that was kind of what my morning was for today. And then I, of course, came over here. And then this afternoon, I'm trying to think what I have on. So this afternoon, we are working also with the Smart Heart Act. And so we've got a letter to the editor that will have to go out this afternoon, and another press release on our media alert for the event this weekend. So a lot of times, though, I do work with media partners. We have several here in Columbia that we work with a lot to get our story, shared with the media. Last week we had our state advocacy day on Thursday, and so that was big. WIS was there to interview 2 parents that had lost their children due to HCM, and then we had the government relations person for the NFL was here, so we got an interview with him, and so that was cool. So kind of wrapping up coverage, making sure that I have all my coverage together for that. So we do a lot of different things.
Sweet.
You have to lay out all your red shirts for the
I
week.
have to lay out all my
Yeah.
red
How much
for the
red
week.
do you? What's your closet?
So
looking
this is
like?
interesting. So I don't know how much you know about like Greek sorority life, but I'm an AKA. So our
Is that an
colors-
alpha?
Alpha Kappa Alpha? Yes. So
Yeah.
our colors are pink and green.
I
So
saw in your bio that you were alpha
Oh.
woman, and I didn't know.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's what that means. So I really, coming to the AHA, had very little red because red is the deltas, right?
Yes.
So I have a lot of red, but now, because also my son plays football for the last 2 years and basketball for the last 2 years at Summit Parkway Middle School. And so Summit Parkway colors are red and maybe black and white.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've just accumulated red because of that, because I always wear like school color and like spirit
Right.
mom, the spirit mom. So it's kind of helped with me getting my more red, because I really had no red before I came to the AJ, which is
But
crazy.
you don't want to be confused as a
I don't
delta.
want to be. I don't.
Or
no,
what are
I
they?
don't.
Delta
Sigma
Delta,
Theta.
Delta
yeah.
Sigma
No, but I
Theta.
do love the deltas. I love the deltas.
And
It's
your
all
son
love.
seems like a really good athlete too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, he is. Not to like toot my own horn, but it is his, But yeah, he's been playing some type of sport since he was 3 years old. That was very important to me, for me to keep him active. So I came from a family of all girls, right? So I had no idea like what to do with this boy. So I have a nephew who's like the oldest. My older sister had a son, and so that's what she did. Had him in sports. I was like, well, okay, seems like that's what you're supposed to do. So he's played everything: soccer, baseball, football, and basketball. Stuck. Once he put the pads on, he didn't want to play flag football anymore, though. But he plays quarterback. He's been playing quarterback since he was 7.
Dang.
And we actually just got back from Myrtle Beach. We were at the NLG tournament this weekend. So this was for 7-on-7, but he plays quarterback on this team with Fairfield Elite, and then we played with the Pop Warner Capital City Ravens here in Columbia for a long time, but he's at Summit Parkway Middle School now.
Nice.
So they actually, as a 7th grader, he was the starter last year for football, and then took him to the championship. We lost in the championship though, but then this year we did good. They went to championship in basketball too, but he's about 6'2", he's 14. So
Really?
yeah, so I'm like looking up to him, but he's still my baby though. Yeah,
Good
His
for
name is
good for
Elijah.
him. Do you think he's done growing, or is he going to be?
So the doctor says she thinks he can get to about 6'4", between 6'4" and 6'6" on the growth chart.
Wow,
So
that's
we'll see. I mean,
great.
we'll see. We don't know. People always ask me like where he got the height because I'm only about 5'3" and his dad's probably about 5'8". And I just tell people the Lord because I really have no idea. Like, so it's whatever he says. If he
That's
says a couple
amazing.
more inches, then listen. I hope he can get a couple more. Just,
6'2" is great, no matter
6'2"
what.
is great,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even now, but
Yeah.
But I think he has no hair on his face.
Really?
None. His
So,
voice
yeah.
just started to kind of, get a little.
Yeah, he might have a couple.
So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Maybe some tickets in your future.
Yeah,
show.
that'll be
I mean,
fun.
seriously.
He'll be at Spring Valley.
We don't know.
Not sure.
We don't
Whoever
know.
recruits him the
We
hardest.
don't know.
Oh,
we'll see.
yeah.
It's,
Love
it's
that.
interesting now. I'll say that.
The whole. I remember back in the day, our friend Perry Parks was a coach at Ridgeview.
Okay,
Yeah, Ridgeview.
And he would keep getting new swag and
Oh, yeah.
uniforms and stuff, trying to convince people to come play for him.
Yeah.
And he did. He had an amazing team. They were
Absolutely.
great.
They're good now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you the football mom that everybody can hear? Or
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like the ridiculous. So the other thing though is like I'm always like different outfit every game. So like this one little kid, he's so cute. And I think he's like in 6th grade. He's like, you should get the award for the most spirited mom. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But I like, so I have like his number on my sweatshirt. Like I bling out my sweatshirt. So
Yeah.
I've got like buttons and all kinds of. Yeah, I'm the crazy mom.
Great.
I never really sit down. Basketball though, I sit on the bottom because I like to be close. Just in case.
kind of walk the court if you need to?
Yes, in case I need to, because it gets serious.
Does
But I love it though.
Does
I
he
love
like
it.
wave to you and
No.
and
No.
he's just
Now,
like,
he
Mom, you're
does.
embarrassing me.
They're probably. So
Not
the only
that
time I
yet?
really embarrassed him is when I like got on the court one time, and I didn't mean to. I thought the game was over, but. He,
wasn't?
Now he looks for me, so like if he makes a good touchdown pass, he'll
Yeah.
look over.
over.
Yeah.
Or if it's like a real good, like a little layup with an and one,
Yeah.
he looks to make sure that
Mama
I saw
saw
it.
it.
watched it.
Yeah, but he's not like he won't tell me I've embarrassed him.
Does he? What does he call you? Mom, mama,
Ma, bruh.
bruh,
Bruh.
Yeah,
Bruh
bruh's
is-
the new thing.
bruh's the new thing,
Bruh's
yeah.
the new thing.
And I'm like, I'm not your brother. Do not call me bruh. Like, no. I'm out here working hard so that you can do all this. Like, you better not call me bruh. But I still get bruh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's okay. I think I know that he loves me when he says
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. I want to touch on just briefly makeup artists. What got you
Yeah.
into that? Like, how long you been doing that? And
So I started, pageants when I was young, very young. And grew up in Camden, so I think I did
Yeah.
like my first like high school pageant. I was probably a freshman, and so just growing up in Camden, we didn't have a whole lot of options for like going to makeup or even like my parents weren't buying me like the big
Right.
expensive makeup. So my sister would like practice on us, and we have like red cheeks, and it was bad. So I kind of started playing around with it when I went to. I guess I was in high school, like around pageant time. I would buy, like I had my first job when I was 15. So I used to buy my own little, cover girl
Little
or
kits,
whatever.
yeah.
And just try to practice. So that's where it kind of came from. And then when I went to college, I was the girl doing like roller sets in the kitchen on Saturday, like making, a couple of, I've always been very entrepreneurial.
Making
Nice.
making what?
Doing little roller sets, making money, extra
Oh.
money, yeah. Because
Love
I didn't
that.
want,
Are you seeing more men using makeup nowadays?
Tom's thinking about it.
No, well,
He wants to.
I think it's becoming more normal. Like it started with like men doing nails, and I think more and more men are putting a little makeup on.
I don't know. I can't.
I haven't,
confirm or-
just in
yeah.
case people are wondering. But
Now I have seen people, of course, like if you're in TV or if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
very in public eye. Sometimes, like I've done maybe 1 or 2 male groomings in the last like 5 years. I want to say this like a
like
big
a
thing.
wedding, like the male wanted something.
We did have one of those.
Really?
long
Like a
ago, yeah.
groomzilla?
But it's super like not like they would want
Yeah.
you to be. They want to
Just
still
kinda-
look like themselves, just to kind of smooth out the skin. But
What
I
would you do on a guy? Like, what would you do
Foundation,
on me or
right?
Tom?
Just
You'd go foundation.
Yeah,
just
cover
go
Randy's
foundation,
full
maybe a little
face, start
concealer.
from scratch.
My eyebrows. I've been told my eyebrows are. I've been told my eyebrows are great.
You do have good eyebrows. Actually, you got a good shape.
But maybe my lips could be a little
Puffier.
bigger.
I wouldn't say that.
No.
No, I wouldn't. I don't see. I'm not. So I will say this too. Like, I'm not gonna make you look like a totally different person. I think makeup should just enhance what you have, like your natural.
I like that.
Beauty, your natural look. Yeah. I don't think you should do like a way over exaggerating features.
What should women take on the go? Like, what should they have in their bag on the go? And say they're single and they might have an overnighter. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, what's in the bag?
Listen, it's been a long time.
You didn't know we were going this direction.
I did not know you were going to add that on there. Okay, but every woman should have a great concealer.
Okay.
You should have a great mascara.
Nice.
I would do some type of, you don't have to have a foundation, but you can do like a bronzer powder just to kind of give you a little dimension here and there. And usually it's going to be in half and half. So you have one that's like a little deeper tone that you can kind of contour. One is a little lighter tone that you can kind of highlight. And a great lip gloss.
Okay.
Keep it
Simple. Nice.
Yep.
So what about if you're dating someone?
Honey, I don't know about that.
I don't. Maybe not you, but maybe you. How long until?
It's hard. Dating right now.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a whole nother conversation.
It's hard out there.
It's very.
We're thinking about doing a dating show
You
because
should.
it's so hard.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be on it, but
You might. We'll cast. Yeah, you'd be good on it.
panel. It's really rough though. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I'm curious how many dates before you would want them to see you no makeup.
That's interesting because I will tell you this.
Couple months.
I dated a guy not long ago, right? And it's very, I shouldn't even say this, but so when I first he was not in Columbia, he was out of town.
Okay.
And so
Florence.
No, he was in DC actually.
Oh,
yeah, he was in
nice.
DC. And so, my pictures and stuff, of course, is like the glam Maranda, right? And so he was like, I want to see you without your makeup. And so usually I don't. I'm usually like, no, that takes
How
a
early is he
premium
asking that?
subscription. I mean, we were like not even like had met in person because
Okay,
I met him online,
yeah.
right?
He just came straight out and went
said, "Let
for
me
it.
see."
And right. And so I went so we did a FaceTime. Like I had no makeup on. Like my hair was like ponytail. And he was like, you don't even you shouldn't even wear makeup. And I was like, so I mean, that's the
great.
the thing that
that's what you want.
That
I
is
mean,
good.
not really though, because I am glad. I tell people I'm not in my Alicia Keys face.
I thought
I'm
that was
Beyonce.
the nicest
I mean, it's a nice compliment, but that is not. I mean, that I'm not saying I'm not comfortable being but that's not me on a regular basis. I have not in my career. I've always been worked hard. You have to present well.
Yeah.
You're not going to have. I mean, the jobs that if you're in a public eye, you've got to have a certain look.
Yeah.
So, can I go on WIS without any makeup? No, that's crazy. So if that's the kind of
Or
person
Columbia's hottest podcast
Yeah.
with no makeup, that would be
Absolutely.
crazy.
When I come here with no makeup, I'm like, no, I had to come. This is me. So if you don't want this, you need to go somewhere. So it kind of helped us to kind of eliminate because.
Yeah.
And then when we did, I mean, it was we met in person. Yeah, he was like, I can't do the glam all the time, and I was like, well, listen, this is who I am, and I'm not changing that. But some people would like that, and so it's where it works for some people.
I think it's good of him to just ask.
Yeah.
There was a guy in India. Have you heard this story?
No, tell me.
He never saw his wife a single time or his girlfriend and fiance without makeup a single time.
Really?
And then after their first night, he woke up and she had no makeup, and he just lost it.
Was it that bad?
I guess she did so much. She looked like an
Really?
entirely different person.
Oh, that's crazy.
Have you seen that one where the girl starts as no teeth?
Oh, I have,
And
oh my God,
That's
sorcery.
where
You should not do that.
That's wild.
That's
That's
why
what
I
blew
say,
my mind.
just
Well,
do
why not do
natural.
that? See, I think the other side,
No, I
that
think
girl
it's a
should
good move for
glam
her.
herself up.
But it's
I mean, but I mean, at some point,
It's
you
trickery.
have to. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you want
why
her to
not?
do?
That's right.
Well, now
It's
she
like-
might meet somebody that wants her like that all the time, and so that may work for her.
That's- And what about neck cream? You were telling me about
Oh
that
my
too.
God, so listen, I was watching. I think it was Nia Long, right? Who 90s, completely just beautiful. She's probably in her 50s, but she said her secret was neck cream, and so I didn't think anything of it. This is a long time ago. And so then a friend of mine was like, Miranda, something's going on with my neck, and I was like, well, you know what?
Wait, your friend told you that something's wrong with your
her
neck?
neck.
Her
But
neck.
then,
Her neck.
I will say, my neck is not when it's not like perfect. I mean, I'm 43, so I'm not.
Yeah, you have a nice neck.
Thank you. Well, you can't see her.
Great.
Yeah.
But she was like, okay, what am I gonna do? I was like, well, I've heard about this neck cream. So we went, found some neck cream, and I will tell you, like, no joke, like probably 3 weeks into using it,
You see a
difference. It tightens, like, you know how you have just like little.
Everybody forgets about the neck.
Forget about it. Even when you're washing your face, you need
Right.
to like do neck, or something. And I guess you wash when you're washing your body, but like, your other product, like facial products, you really need to use. But the neck cream was a game changer.
That's good.
Is it a daily cream?
It's a daily cream, and I use mine morning and night.
Oh, double it up.
I do 2 times.
No wonder your neck looks so good.
I want to make sure I'm
Double down on the neck
tightening
cream.
the neck. But I'm telling you, it really makes a difference. So you gotta try
That's
it.
great.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, so I guess my last question back to the Heart Association
Sure.
is what T-shirt normally wins this T-shirt contest? Because I feel like we're gonna have to get creative and get in the lab.
So yeah, creative t-shirt. So I'm trying to think the one that we had.
Like, are they doing wigs? Are they doing like all-out costume, or is it just
no,
the
just
T-shirt?
the t-shirt.
Okay,
and
okay,
so it
good.
can be, and it can. I mean, it doesn't need to be like a blinged out t-shirt or any of that.
Like,
Just
say
a
we go
t-shirt
Randy and I
design.
in Speedos, printed on a shirt, maybe holding a heart.
Giving each other
That's a good
CPR.
idea.
Oh yeah, CPR.
I like the CPR edition.
Mouth
You got to
to mouth.
incorporate that.
You think
I
that's
think you should
winning?
totally do that. I think you should totally.
Wait, what do you win? What's the prize? Because I need to know that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you gotta hit
it's a
Congratulations.
good
You're on
job.
social media,
Trophy.
like we're putting it out.
Oh man, a trophy would be great.
A trophy would be great. I have to
Tell them, yeah.
figure that out. We might
Yeah.
do a
Yeah, even if it's like a small,
Like a
like we give our
Yeah,
we
we-
give
Oh,
ourselves a lot of trophies.
I love this though.
Yeah.
I have that.
Yeah, I have tons of trophies
love
that
a
I
trophy.
made.
Third
Really?
place.
I love a trophy.
It's nice, right?
It's nice. It's
yeah.
a reminder.
Yeah.
of what you did. Your
The
accomplishment.
greatness. Yeah, you want to be
Absolutely.
around it.
You gotta have a trophy. So we might have to do a trophy for our
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
a good idea.
And how? So my last thing is, how do you want us to support you? Obviously, donations. Go to the website.
Let's get everybody walking March 29th.
Let's get
number
everybody
one.
here.
Why
Heart
not?
Walk is super fun. Like I said, it doesn't cost anything to sign up.
2 miles.
It's a 2-mile walk, and it's Saturday morning, so it's not like, well, of course
You could
it's
still
South
go to the
Carolina.
races
You
after.
can still go to the
That's
Carolina
key.
Cup afterwards, and it's at Segra Park. So Segra is great, parking, finding,
Yes.
once you get in, and it's just a lot of fun. You get a chance to see. Like I think this was my first year doing Columbia last year, and I saw so many people that I knew and hadn't seen in so long. So it's a great way to connect with people that you haven't seen in a
Yep.
long time. It's a great way to come out and learn some more information, but also just to have a good time and to get some exercise in. Start your day like on a great spot. Start with a
Yep.
good walk before
Beautiful.
before your day. So
Yep.
definitely come to Heart Walk.
Love it.
It's fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
All
being
right,
on the show.
thank you.
Thank
This
you
was
for
great.
having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.